So I was out in the woods and I saw an amazing tree. It was a pine type of tree, and usually they grow very tall and straight. All the other ones around it were growing really tall and straight. This one looked like it was kind of the wizened old mother of all the trees. I thought it was a really awesome tree, and I saw these sticks lying on the ground at the bottom of it. Obviously came from the tree. So I decided I would grab a couple of them and see what they could become. They have some very rough edges. This one is pretty much cracked all the way through, so this one's going to have to be cut down into other pieces to make some kind of segmented turning at some point. This one, however, it looks pretty solid, so I'm going to have to take off some of the ends. You got a crack here, not quite cracking down at the end, but getting close. So I'm going to cut off some of this and see if I've got something solid I can work with. I took off the ends. It looks really nice. I was a little worried we might have a crack in here and some cracking over in here, but it looks like it's all pretty solid. So I'm going to get it mounted up, and I think this is going to become a nice little wand. So I've got it in my lathe. It's set for very slow speed, going about 500 RPM, and now we're going to let the chips land where they may. Got my roughing gouge. You can tell it's a roughing gouge. It's got these much sharper corners as compared to what's often referred to as a spindle gouge, which, as you can see, is much more rounded off. But I'm just trying to take off some of this bark and see where we're at. So this is going to be the big chunky part right up in here. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge. I'm just going to have to go real slow with it, try not to come in too much. Obviously I really want to be in here with this, but I really need to be out here with this. So I'm just going to reset my tool rest a little bit so I can have a nice angle for this part. Nice little knots right there where those branches came off. Just going to have to smooth this down a little bit more. This is going to be my handle area right here. It's going to swell out to a ball back here, and then it's going to taper down. It's looking really nice. I'm going to switch off to my spindle gouge, and I'm going to bump the speed up a little bit. I'll go up to about 900 RPM now. I think that feels pretty good. I'm going to work on shaping the ball a bit and then start tapering this down. I don't want to taper this down too soon because then I lose all my strength. You can kind of see it's already flexing a little bit. I think that's going to feel pretty nice in the hand. I'm going to have to smooth this a little bit, and I'm going to just work that out a little bit more so I have a little bit more room to work. So I apologize, I was working and didn't realize that the memory card got full, so you missed some. I turned this all the way down till it's basically the shape I want. I've used the scraper on it. I've rounded off most of the ball shape at the end. It's time now to start sanding and getting it down to a smooth finish before I part it off and finish everything off. So this wood is very dry. It's not incredibly hard, so it ends up splintering out a little bit. So it's not going to take a whole lot for me to actually sand it down smooth, and I don't want to be too aggressive with the sandpaper because then I'm going to have a lot of work to get all the marks out. So I've got a 320 grit sanding sponge here, and I'm going to start off at about 1800 RPM. When working with these kind of pieces, I've been using a piece of sandpaper and holding it and working it into these spaces, and I end up losing a lot of my detail in these kind of areas. So I'm going to try to be very careful with the sponge. It should work a lot better for me. I've got a little bit of a dip right here. I'm trying to see if I can just sand that out. And it looks like I'm getting it. Okay, much better. I've got some rough spots right in here and here, so I'm going to work on those areas a little bit. Okay, that looks very good. A little bit more sanding down here, and then we'll go to some higher grits. Okay, that was 320 grit. Let's go a little higher. Just slightly higher, we got a 400. This is an 800 grit. Cleaned it off, it's already got a lot more shine to it. So now I'm going to do is hit it with a 2000 grit. So a friend of mine got me beeswax, and they got it from a source that really takes good care of the bees, that it's a whole industry basically, that they're working really hard to protect the bees, to make use of the honey in good ways, keep everything natural, keep everything clean. So this is a really nice, clean, wonderful smelling beeswax, and I thought it'd be a good fit for polishing this a little bit. Now the beeswax isn't going to give me a lot of a shine, it's just going to bring out the grain a little bit and provide a little bit of a coating. So I ran into a little problem. As I was parting off, I ended up finding a weak spot that dug really deep in there, and I lost a good bit of this, so I ended up having to work on just taking this down by hand, bring it down to something of a point. I actually don't like how sharp it is. I'm probably going to have to sand that off a little bit. Otherwise, I've got it rounded off on the other end, and I'm just going to put a little bit more beeswax on just to fill in this area, sand everything a little bit so I get rid of this point, and then we can get to buffing. So I've got my buffing wheel, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the beeswax on the wheel, and then I'm just going to get started buffing. Really like that grain up at the top. It's got a lot of loops and swirls in it. Just kind of hoping for that. That's where all the big chunks of branches were. This handle came out looking pretty nice. I'm really not sure if I made a wand at this point or something you can kill vampires with, but either way, it's pretty. So here's the finished product. I really like how a lot of it turned out. I don't like how it's short now. It's more like a vampire slayer than a wand, unfortunately. That being said, it's really pretty. I like the grain. You can see there's a couple of different colors in here. It's almost a gray purple, and I really like the grain that's on the knob on the end. So those parts came out really nice. I learned a good bit from this. I'm getting better with my spindles at this point, and I really enjoyed this piece. I hope you did too, and thank you for joining me on the Peaceful Woodturner.